hot glue and distressing. This started out as the hideous 1980s prom bridesmaid dress. We all know the type. They had the poofy sleeves, the bow on the butt. No one ever wanted to wear this dress. For some reason, brides in the 80s thought this dress looked awesome, and there's like 800 of them in every color of the rainbow in every thrift store around America. So I took the hideous bridesmaid dress, and the first thing I did was I got rid of half of the skirt. I didn't like it. All this is, these are curtains. I got them in a thrift store. They still have the little lace. They probably were in some old lady's kitchen. And I literally just hot glued it inside where the old front of the skirt had been. And I took pieces of the old skirt that I ripped off, and I just shredded them. I used the wire brush, I used the little carpet cutter, and some of them I even hot glued back on here just to add more fullness and frayed texture to it.
I just got a whole box of those curtains with that lacy stuff at a garage sale for like $1.
See, there you go. Someone's going to have a prom gown.
Yep. I'm so excited.
You're going to be pretty. And then the sleeves are also more parts of those same curtains. Like it had, as I said, the hideous inflatable, I'm drowning, I have arm floaties on sleeves. And so I just hot glued parts of the curtain, kind of just like half put them together as sleeves. So it's not so much, they're kind of more like dangly arm emphasis than sleeves. That way you don't have to worry about, you know, how big the actress's arms are, if they're going to be too big, if they're going to be uncomfortable. It's more just like a dangling emphasis. And the lace, again, hot glued. You can get lace really cheap. A lot of times, like Joann Fabrics will have like the leftover remnant section that's like usually like 50 cents to $1 for just pieces of fabric that they don't have enough of it to justifiably sell for a real craft. And they'll have like chunks of lace, chunks of fabric, and that's where this came from. I think this cost me all like 8 cents for this big chunk here. And I just hot glued it in. Same with all of the flowers, those are just hot glued. And this has actually been worn and washed numerous times over about 6 or 7 years, and I've never had any of the flowers come off.
Flowers are hot glued.
The flowers are hot glued. You could sew them if you want, if you have that level of dedication. I have done that. Sewing through plastic is kind of a pain. I prefer to be lazy and hot glue it.
They have that iron-on seam stuff too. Will that hold? Have you tried that?
It doesn't hold as well if you're washing something. I have found, same with like, there's like fabric glue or seam glue, and some of it says it's washable. What it means is it survives maybe one wash. And then it starts kind of falling apart. And if you have an actor that sweats a lot, like I've had that experience. I did a costume for an actor at the last time we had to try and like seam glue something up. He sweated like crazy, and like halfway through the night, like it's all come undone. I'm like, ooh. So yeah, if you have to wash it or if you sweat a lot, the seam glue not so effective.
Just hot glue. Cool.
Yep. Yeah, that lace also just hot glued. You can see on the inside just the gobs of. And like the lace, it adds a little bit of detail, a little texture, as well as if you have an actress that's, you know, a little modesty issues. You know, you don't always want all the goods hanging out. Another one, as I said, in the 80s, every bride thought poofy sleeve dresses were awesome. So this is the pink version. And this one actually, I did add a little bit of stuff. There actually is some sewing on this. I did sew the lace on. I could have hot glued it. I decided to sew it for some reason. I decided to be a masochist that day. So the lace detail I added, and again, you can just get lace really cheap at like Joann Fabrics, most craft stores. And it just adds a lot of texture, a lot of detail to things. Or if you're trying to do like vintage, especially like let's say you have a Victorian haunt, if you just take a normal men's suit coat and hot glue lace on the inside of the sleeve, instantly it looks like something from that period. Or, you know, if you want to make her like the old like, you know, like necktie lacy detail, you buy a normal tie, you hot glue a bunch of lace on it, they're around their neck, instantly it's that old like Victorian style. And this one again too, hot glue the flowers, and these are just strips of random fabrics from other costumes. Whenever I tear off, like, you know, if I do a big dress and I rip off like a foot off the hem, I keep the fabric scraps, because I'll just reutilize them on another garment, just as like little strips of fabric. It just adds detail. When the actor's, you know, acting, and then you have like the extra movement of the fabric moving around, things like that. It gets the attention. It gives it makes the experience more realistic the more detail you have into it. So rather than it being a plain dress, you know, it gives something to look at. It gives the actor something that seems more fancy, more thought and time were put into it. It just inspires more. And like with craft stores, it seems every season means every major holiday. They discount all of the flowers from like, you know, all the Easter pastels get marked down the day after Easter. So I just buy like all of the different colors, like little roses. I cut off usually the bottoms to just keep the heads of them. And just hot glue those on the pieces. And another thing you can do with the fake flowers is I'll do like little zombie like boutonnieres, or for the girls you can do like a corsage. And then, you know, if you have like a dead groom, or like let's say he's a dead prom date, you just add this to the suit coat, you know, spray paint a little, and now you have like a little dead boutonniere. And again, all this is a couple fake flowers I hot glued together, and then I just actually put a couple bits of the fabric tape at the bottom to hold them in. Another super easy costuming trick is, if anyone ever used to watch Seinfeld, there's an episode about like the pirate shirt, the sleeves, exactly, yeah, the puffy shirt. You can find a lot of those at Goodwill, a lot of puffy shirts. So I will buy them, and usually the gaudier and the lacier and the more hideous and the more like flamboyantly gay opera singer they look, the better. So this is one of those fun little poofy sleeve shirts, and this is what I call the hideous 80s dress. It used to be full length, had long sleeves, and has this awful pattern on it. I don't know what people were thinking. It's got random letters mixed in it as though it's Sesame Street. I don't know. Either way, it was bad, so it had to die. So I hot glued, literally just hot glued the hideous 80s dress onto the poofy sleeve blouse. And I just shredded the hideous 80s dress within an inch of its life. Like the sleeves are tired and falling apart. You have chunks of the, you know, poofy sleeve blouse coming through. And then literally the bottom isn't even just a skirt anymore. It's just like tendrils of fabric hanging down. And materials-wise, this was $2 in clothes. I got the poofy and the dress each for $1. And some hot glue. That's all the materials and costs that went into doing this. And instantly you have a zombie costume. You can have an actor throw this on over a pair of pants, over leggings, over a skirt, what have you, and instantly they're a zombie. And speaking of those lovely kitchen curtains I mentioned earlier, this started out as kitchen curtains. Like, I'd like to think a lady in the 1950s had them. They have like a bad rose pattern and stripes and weird little speckles, and they're ugly. I decided I was going to make a blouse. I hot glued this. No pattern, I just kind of guesstimated by cutting, like, what do I think a blouse should look like? And this is all just literally held together with hot glue. And as you see, I utilized the weird little, like, I guess we call it the little dust ruffle that's on the bottom of the curtain. That became the bottom of the jacket. That became the sleeves. And this is just a pair of curtains. And all this is held together with hot glue, except for like the little frog attachment. So here we have the big old Victorian booty bustle. All this is, inside, there are plastic bags from the grocery store. I wadded about 10 of them inside each other, because, you know, every time you go to the grocery store, they give you like 18 bags, and if you're only buying 4 items. I just wadded a bunch of them together, wadded them into some of the curtain fabric, and now it's a bustle. And then the rest of this is just held together with Velcro that I hot glued onto the curtains. So, minimal effort, and it looks very like, it looks like something you would have spent, you know, a lot of money on, you know. I got a little Victorian bustle going on. I could be like one of those like French can-can girls, what have you. But, yeah, it was just a pair of curtains, hot glue, and some grocery bags. I collect these at thrift stores. People give them to me at this point because they know I have an obsession with destroying them. This is a $3,000 wedding dress. I paid $20 for it. It used to be white and pristine, and I'm sure someone loved it for exactly one day. Exactly. I've actually been given divorce dresses or the wedding never happened dresses. There really isn't a market for those, you know, other than people like us that want to destroy them. It's kind of hard to have a secondhand wedding market.
I'm sure you could probably make a good amount of money soliciting your services to really bitter.
That is true. That is true. Like, you know, that bastard broke your heart. We're going to destroy that beer away.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness, as long as I didn't wait for it.
And actually, I ended up wearing this to the Chicago Zombie Prom like 2 weeks ago. So this started out in 1915. This is the one that I literally shoved in my washing machine. My mother was horrified when she came over to my house and watched me pulling this thing out of the dryer. And she's just like, "What did you do?" I'm like, "I'm dyeing it." She's like, "That's a wedding gown." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a costume now." So the undersides I dyed the gray and purple.
Did you do this in separate levels?
No, just I added the gray and the purple together, and the streak.
Oh,
That came later. Yeah. Yeah, I did the drip later. This was severely Scotch guarded, so the dye wouldn't take to it. The only thing I could get onto it was some sprinkling of paint. But luckily it's got like 15 layers of tulle, so you can't even see that that part didn't dye. And for the bodice, all I did was I took watered down purple and gray paint and just sloshed it all over the thing. And then I just shredded. As I said, this thing I think technically has 8 layers of tulle, all combined. And the more you shred it, the bigger the dress gets.
What is dripping? Is that the dye for the shoes or is that?
What I did for the dripping is I took a water bottle, actually that one I have there. I mixed in some purple paint with water, so it's heavily watered down. I just walked around the dress and started spraying it. So, if you are friends with them, they might conveniently call you and say, you know, we have this dress, and unfortunately, some guest spilled a glass of red wine on the bride, and it's now unsellable. What would you like, you know, would you like it? And then you can get it for completely free. So, highly recommend working those connections at like thrift stores and things like that. As well as we mentioned like bridal salon, because brides a lot of times are really rude people and get makeup all over stuff they're trying dresses on as they're doing their whole like, oh, I'm getting married, I'm in bridezilla mode, I don't care. Most of the stuff I'll actually just, a lot of times I'll just throw it in the normal wash, which my husband doesn't think is funny that like his normal dress clothes are mixed with my costuming. I think it's funny. If you're really worried about it, very little detergent, or you can hand wash them.
It's got to really help.
Yeah.
It really does.
Like, constantly here's unloved pile. It is always just people forget about. People are like, acting, and then the makeup, and they're like, oh yeah, throw on that black cloak, you know? It's like,
Yeah, my mom.
never ends
I
up
was
happening.
getting it situated so that I
Never get the full sheet.
Like canned coffee that you can use, like to get different effects on it?
For the natural dye?
Yeah.
Canned coffee's been the only things I found that work really well. Like, I've played with different like roots and stuff like that, and it never seems to take as well. But I like canned coffee because they're cheap, and most people already have it in their house.
Yeah.